serving the area's nonprofits through COVID-19. This week on Mid-Ohio Valley Now. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Mid-Ohio Valley Now. I'm your host, Eric Little. Thank you for joining us once again this morning, and thanks for making us a part of your weekend routine. COVID-19 has thrown a wrench into life in general, but it has been particularly difficult for area nonprofits and the foundations that provide support for them. The Marietta Community Foundation recently announced that in 2020, they were able to provide more cash assistance to area groups than in any prior year. Heather Allender is the president and CEO of the Marietta Community Foundation, and she joins this week to describe their work and how they were able to help so many during a time where many were facing their own struggles. This week on Mid-Ohio Valley Now, we're talking about how one local community foundation had one of their most charitable years, one of their biggest giving years in 2020. Heather Allender is with the Marietta Community Foundation. She joins to discuss their banner 2020. Heather, welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you for having me.
For those that aren't aware, what is the role of a community foundation?
So officially, if you look at our mission, we talk about how we manage and distribute donated funds. And really, that's what we're doing. I see it more as a coordination of philanthropic efforts. So, community foundations are in certain geographic areas. And within those areas, they're the premier source of charitable giving. They're there to help individuals give back. They're there to support nonprofits. They're really just to be that hub of charity in a community.
Where is your service area? Because the name like Marietta Community Foundation, that kind of tends to make people think just Marietta, but is it broader beyond Marietta in Washington County?
It is actually Washington County. So our service area is Washington County. I mentioned that community foundations all have very specific geographic areas. And, there's so many throughout the United States, and they all have a very specific area that they cover. And it's really nice because we work together. We're not in the same coverage areas as other foundations. We work together. We're able to share resources, and there's really no competition. But just to kind of go back to the name, yes, our name is Marietta Community Foundation. That's how we were established in the 70s. But we do cover the entire county, Washington County, Ohio.
How many different organizations in the county or groups in the county rely on you for support? It's probably a lot.
That's a good question. And I would say, any group, any nonprofit that needs assistance is going to be working with us. Any individuals that are charitable and want to give back are going to use us. Even businesses our businesses do so much for the community, and they can use us as a resource to give back. So I feel that we're vital for everyone in our community who want to give back, who are charitable, and want to make an impact in Washington County.
In a community like this, in a county like this, that's got to be a lot of different interests that you're serving. How difficult is it? What are the challenges that sometimes pop up when it comes to serving so many different organizations with all those interests?
So that's another reason why a community foundation is so vital to a community, because we are broad. Our service is broad. We can support any interest area that may exist in our community. And what we do is we really try to get a handle on what the needs are in the community. So what are we hearing from our various nonprofits? Sometimes one need may be greater than the other, and we have that flexibility to meet that need at that time. But we also have the flexibility to shift gears if needed. For example, 2020 with COVID, we were able to do that. We were able to shift gears very quickly and meet whatever need that, presents itself.
Well, it was inevitable that we were going to get there. Let's go ahead and take that turn toward COVID. How did that impact your work and how you've been able to serve?
It was very easy. We're prepared to pivot very quickly just because of the way that we're structured. We have unrestricted funds that are available to support the community, support needs in the community. And because they're unrestricted, we can shift very, very quickly. And so we were prepared. As the pandemic was, kind of impending, we took a minute to step back and talk to our nonprofits. So we made calls. We talked to our food pantries. We talked to the Boys and Girls Club. And we would talk to anyone that we could possibly talk to. What do you think will be the biggest impact on your organization? And we just whiteboarded it. We threw everything up. We tried to determine what would be the biggest needs as this pandemic was coming down in our community. And from that, we developed a plan. And if you look at our website, look at our materials, you can see that plan focused on 3 areas. We focused on the most vulnerable in our community, the elderly. We focused on food insecurity. And then we focused on another vulnerable population in our community, children. And so that's what we focused on, and that's how we attacked, I guess, getting ahead of the pandemic.
If you had $1 for every time you said pivot in the last 12 months, would you be able to fund your entire giving year?
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, yes, I think I have, and many others have used that term quite a bit in the last year. And I guess changing between pivot and shift might help.
Yeah, some of the other synonyms, we'll count those as well. What additional needs have come as a result of COVID? You mentioned some of those focus areas. How have they been impacted?
So I think one of the biggest areas that we saw was our vulnerable population, the elderly, having access to the services while still being quarantined at home was one of the biggest challenges that we saw. And thankfully, we have the most wonderful nonprofits in our community that serve that population. I'll give a shout out to the O'Neill Senior Center. They are an amazing group of people who really care about their clients, and they struggled, and we were right there to help them, constantly contacting, what do you need help with? What do you need funds? Do you need us to connect you with someone? We helped them connecting resources to provide food, so home delivered meals. There were several restaurants in the area that actually partnered with them too to get those meals delivered and food boxes delivered. And even now, I think they're looking into how do they still provide those services maybe virtually with this population. And so that's something that, we're constantly in contact with them. How can we help?
For more information or to make a gift, visit their website at mcfohio.org or call them at 740-373-3286. In just a moment, we'll continue our conversation with Heather Allender, the president and CEO of the Marietta Community Foundation. But first, this break. You're listening to Mid-Ohio Valley Now.